Dungeon Doomheads.
You know what?
Let's
I've
talk
been
lore.
to this thing now.
A podcast.
My daughter's in the 5th grade. I've been to this for the 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd. They do this every year, as a class. They've gotten better. They're better now than they were when they were 5 and 6 years old. But it's great. It's great to see them sing their little hearts out, and they have this so much personality. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
No.
I've missed you guys.
Yeah.
I haven't been on with you in some time. How have you guys because you guys are parents of little ones, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk and plan all this time for right after we put our kids to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be right there with you. Obviously I'm 2 hours behind you guys, so it's only 7 o'clock here. But good. Have your games been going?
Good actually. So, it's funny. I might have mentioned this last time, but last time we were introducing ourselves. So now let me tell you what really let me tell you what really happens here. I have all these I want the players to get to certain places, and the traveling takes quite a while. And we've got the travel down. I feel like just throwing a couple encounters and that's it. But I just got them into a nice big dungeon crawl, and it is sick. It's really awesome, and I think I have become not professional, but better at planning the dungeon out a little bit.
Okay.
But a lot of random shit happens, which is hilarious.
There are very few resources that you can just beat into the ground. But I mean, are you a student of the, John 4, the 5-room dungeon?
We've done the 5-room dungeon. I like using that as I guess a skeletal structure, and just taking some things from it. But I've also figured out just naturally, the puzzles are hard for the grown men to figure out. But also, if you were to add in if you were to make them use their powers, use their spells, use some of their health to get through, it creates a little bit more of an element of necessity for the next room. Okay, now I've this puzzle room that we got through has drained a quarter of our supply, whether it's health or whatever. So now, as you continue to move forward, it gets a little bit more serious and more serious, and I really am enjoying that.
And you know what? I think what you just said is really great. I think in my experience, that is something that a lot of dungeon masters have a hard time sort of orienting themselves on or calibrating on, is puzzles and other challenges. They need to be hurdles or speed bumps. They should never be barriers or roadblocks. And I think you hear all of these stories online of, I put a Sudoku in front of my party and they, bang their head against the table for 4 hours and they couldn't get past this thing. That's not fun. That's not fun for us as dungeon masters. Not fun for the players. It makes it really, really challenging. So I think you're thinking about it the right way, where success in the puzzle means you get through with an advantage or without a disadvantage. Failure in the puzzle means you get through at a disadvantage or without disadvantage. But either way, you're getting through. And I think that, to me, is the most important part. Would you say you agree, Spence?
I do agree. Real quick though, we have a stream chat going from Brett from Mythic Minds, and he's just blasting away. Brett, listen, thank you for your support. And yes, he says, doors.
Yes.
Spencer, accept that doors are the biggest adversary for a party. Don't beat yourself up. That's hilarious.
That's true. Doors can be challenging. I mean, there are sometimes as dungeon masters where we're just sitting there, just like biting a hole in our fist, going like, just do the thing, just do the thing we want you, you know. And it's like it can be a real challenge. I think the last time we were on, I told you I was writing the finale of a long-running campaign.
Oh yeah, how did that? Yeah, tell me.
So, well, I learned a lot. So, for the last 5 years, I have been running this campaign mostly online with my roommates from college. We started during COVID. My wife plays with us as well. And we said, hey, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're all going to get together. We actually went back to Ithaca, New York, which is where we went to school. And we did a weekend there and played D&D all weekend and sort of hit the finale of the campaign. And it was a blast. I mean, it was an absolute blast. I mean, I have a 3D printer, so I went on Hero Forge, not a sponsor of the show yet, from what I understand, but soon. Went on Hero Forge and made minis for all of the players, and then brought them up, and they were able to, we sat down on Friday night and we, painted them and then let them dry, and then we played, all day Saturday. It was a blast. I think I wish I could say like the finale was everything I wanted it to be, but I think, for all the dungeon masters out there who've run these long campaigns, sometimes the finale just doesn't have that like spectacularness that you want it.
Yes.
It's kind of like, well, that was a campaign. Like, so what we had two encounters back to back. The first encounter was like a 5v5, so they were fighting against like sort of like the tortured spirits of 5 important characters who had sort of like died through the campaign. Like 1 or 2 were player characters and the others were NPCs. They loved that encounter. I should have just ended the campaign after that encounter.
Dude, I'm terrified. I would say I'm terrified. Like, we've been chasing Agoth Doomhand, the main bad guy, looking for all these skulls and essentially just like crystals that will make you stronger or whatever, affect how you play. And the group is, Chris, what's the average level now? It's like
13.
13. So like now I'm like, okay, now I have to figure out how to like play this villain guy against 4, maybe 5 like smart dudes who've been playing this for a while and not fuck up like the finale stuff. But he's got some strategies. But it's like, yeah, finale, dude. Finale is a hell of a topic.
Well, Spencer, one bit of advice: it's not all on you to make the finale or the conclusion amazing. It's on all of us too. If we don't put in the effort to try and wrap up the stories or have the conversations or make that fight feel epic, that's not on you, that's on us.
Dude, Chris is quiet, but when he talks, it's like, wow,
No, and Chris, you're so right. You're so right. Like, it is. And I think that's a good reminder for the dungeon masters out there and, game masters that, if you've got 5 players at your table, it is a 6-person game. Like, we're all playing a game together, and like one person, is just the goalie. But we're all playing the same game. And I think that's really an important reminder. And you're right. Like, if it's a lot, when a session or a campaign or a one-shot, it's a ton of fun, every single person at the table should take credit for that. And when it's kind of a dud and it kind of doesn't go well, every person, as dungeon masters, we feel like, oh, well, if it doesn't go well, it's on me. If it goes well, it's on the players. And it's like, no. Like, everyone who's playing has the ability to, sort of balance that. And I think also as dungeon masters, we're harder on ourselves than our players are. I think that I walk away going like, oh man, like the way that I introduced that character was not as exciting as I wanted it to be. Like, they're not even thinking about that. Like, they're on to they want to know if they can keep this panther as a pet. You know what I mean? Like, like on to the next thing.
The
Yeah,
challenge is seeing behind the curtain. Is you see all the possibilities that could have been, and they just see what you have been revealing to them.
Yeah.
And you're like, they could have done this amazing thing and done all this other stuff, and they just see, like you said, the little panther they want to bring as a pet,
that's
but they
Right.
don't know about the all the other stuff. So
Yeah.
it's
I'll tell you a funny story. So Friday night, so we went on this trip. We got upstate, early on Friday. So Friday night, the Friday night activity to kind of like we all hadn't seen each other in person in a while, and like we weren't going to jump right into D&D. So what I had set up on the TV for like late night Friday night was like a Jeopardy style campaign review. So there's an app that I found on the web. I'm probably still paying $2.99 a month for because I was like, oh, I'll cancel this on Monday. Like that's how D&D Beyond makes like 75% of their revenue. Is I thought it was so, but they had this app, so everybody like logs in on their phone and they can like buzz in, and then like I went through like these Jeopardy style game. And it was not anything that was being done, in character or in universe. It was very much like meta, but it was a lot of fun. But one of the categories was abandoned plot lines, and it was like that was a little peek behind the curtain for folks of like, yeah, these were things that you just like never got excited about, so we never did. But I'm supposed to like tell you about them because I wrote them, so like I want to get some use out of them.
So Mythic Minds said the best finale. No, he says finale is only amazing in Hollywood. It's true. It's true.
No, that is so true. But I think one thing that I think so as somebody who had played more online than in person over the last several years, I think one thing that I felt like I really dropped the ball on. I think I gave it to one of my buddies to keep after the weekend. But the final battle was against not just like a lich, but not just any lich. It was a giant lich, and I had printed like a 10-inch like model. And I feel like for anybody out there who wants to have like oohs and ahs when like a model comes onto the table, I think the lesson was describe this thing, get people to make a picture in their head, and then like plop it down on the table. And like I fucked that up. Like like I pulled up I was so excited to pull out this maxi, whatever you want to call it, and like I plopped it on the table, and people were just like, cool. And I was like, no, look how much bigger than your minis it is. Like, it's terrifying. But like, obviously, that wasn't the
Yeah, I think I also need to start showing people what the bad guys look like. And on our digital tabletop, you can pull in models from anywhere, but they're sometimes they're too small. It's that they don't show how dangerous they are and stuff like that. But with that side note, let's jump into the poll topic,
Sure.
which was time traveling.
Okay, I love this. I go ahead. I'm adjusting here, but
So
get my time travel seat.
Yeah, I guess we'll just broadly talk about time travel, and does it break the game? How do you use it? How would you use it as a DM? And then also, as a player, because now you once you realize that when you're going back in time or going forward, if you're certain things have to make somewhat of sense, and it's fun to play that out. Chris, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say, as a player who just went through some time travel stuff in Arkham campaign, all the like urges that we get to do all the stupid shit in our normal Dungeons and Dragons game only becomes more extreme because it's like, oh, I'm actually back in time. I can become my own grandfather. I can set in motion all these plans to do stupid things. Like, oh, we're back in time 100 years. Let me give these plans to build this space airship to this submarine mechanic, and maybe in 100 years he would have figured it out and already built an airship for us that we can steal and take. So of course I leave the plans to the guy. Or of course we steal a robot and a baby from 100 years and bring them 100 years into the future. That's not going to have consequences, but we want to do the stupid thing because it's fun. And how often do you get to do time travel stupid things?
You're talking about our campaign.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that
Because it's fun.
We're literally, so the topic is time travel in D&D, brilliant or broken. Let me tell you, time traveling is awesome, and there's different ways to do it. So I did one with just like a dungeon where I split the group and I had them realize that like one group was in the past and one group was in the future, and then getting them to communicate, which was some sort of like spell type thing. They could communicate with one another. Like, they go into the future room and they see a bunch of skeletons piled up, and there's like a puzzle to get to the next room, but and they figure out what the answer to the puzzle is, but the people in the other room have to kill the two guys or whatever, arrange their bodies, and then the door opens, and the door was going to stay open in the future, whatever. That's hard. That was very hard. I found that very hard, and for the luck of it, I have no idea, Chris, how you managed to get that guy's head off, and like the water. I just said like, okay, water. There was like a mechanic in the room where water was flowing out the door, and it just so happened that in the future room, the goblin's body was headless and was decaying near the room. And it was funny because we rolled and the dice don't lie, and the body sort of floated over there. It was decapitated. But we also did a time heist, and we went back in time. There were two Mind Flayer colonies battling each other, and they decided to take a Mind Flayer child and bring it into the future with them, with a robot. And now, when you do that, it's up to the DM, I think, mostly, to like weave that into the story, make that really fucking cool. Because like, that's not broken to me. I think time travel's insane. I think it's awesome, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think that there's a lot of fun things that you can do with. I think there is time travel, and I think there is time bending. So I ran a longish campaign once, and as a DM, this had a fun payoff. The players were not like, I don't really remember. I think they got it and they thought it was nifty, but so it was sort of like a cobbled together like Dungeon of the Mad Mage. You guys familiar?
Yep.
And so very early in the campaign, like you're like level 5 or 6, and like you can get ambushed by like a vampire and get pretty like jacked up. So the party is essentially like all on death saving throws, and then all of a sudden I need some kind of like Deus Ex, because I really don't want to go through character creation. So sort of like, through like the haze of death, you see these you hear footsteps, and you all sort of like pass your saving throws, and like when you kind of come to, you look around, and like this mob of monsters they're all slain by like these like unknown creatures, but this artifact that you had with you is gone. Okay. Fast forward to now you're level 12, 13, and you're facing a locked mechanism, that requires this artifact that you lost 10 levels ago. And you have access to travel back in time. And you find yourself, standing over this this group of adventurers that's been steamrolled by these vampires, and you sort of like complete that time loop. You take back your own artifact.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you move forward. Like that, for me, was like a really fun sort of like loop to close. But I think time travel, you mentioned like go be your own grandfather. I think it really takes, I think you really need to have a party that is willing to divorce what they know from what their characters know. And I think if you can do that effectively, I think you can do some really fun things with time travel.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, it is very much so on the players. It's not just the dungeon I love closing the loops. That's sick. We're about to close a loop or two actually from the time traveling next session, or maybe the session after, if all goes well. But the players really are very much so involved in making that, keeping the immersion, right? Keeping the game moving. Sort of what needs to happen, but like, yeah, how to get there is that's hilarious.
Like, what's another like time travel scenario that you're thinking about? Like, should we be like pressure testing? Like, is it time travel movies? Like would Back to the Future work as D&D, like broken or?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it would 100% work.
Okay, so tell me, let's design a one shot that's based on Back to the Future.
So. Okay, so something, I guess it's something like, okay, each person, you create your character, something bad happens to them, and they're upset about it. That's giving the background story of that, right? And then, or maybe something happens in the village, or whatever. There's got to be some sort of hook to get them to go figure out why the thing happened, or whatever it is. But then, how would you, lore-wise or party-wise, connect those dots? That's tough. So
yeah, like how do you, like, I'm trying to think of like what would be an example of like a time travel trope that you could sort of flip into a one shot, right? So like, what are the story beats of like Back to the Future is like the hero's journey, right? Like Marty meets Doc Brown, right? And he's like this like kooky inventor. And then all of a sudden Marty just like, he's helping him, right? And he like winds up in the past, and then he's got to get back to the future, right? That's like the whole that's like the whole premise. So I mean, you could do the same thing. I mean, let me ask you this, have you ever run a one shot or a campaign that was like a complete like misdirect from the jump?
What do you say? Yeah, Chris.
I've tried to do that, but I confuse myself more than I can get that proper story beat. Like, I try to do the misdirect, I try to get everything going, but I just fumble trying to keep everything in line. I'm a terrible liar as a person, so trying to like keep up the lie and keep up the hidden story is always challenging.
So it takes 12. If you can write 12 one shots, you can put together an anthology book. Like that's like the goal. And so I have one that I might actually just release as like a standalone like paperback, but I have this idea of doing, an anthology book based on like movies from the 80s. And I have one, spoiler alert, I have a one shot based on the Goonies that like works. It's like airtight. Like, and think about the Goonies is great. when I talk about the misdirect, I have one that I think is not airtight that I've run with a group and like it doesn't work so well, based on ET. But when I talk about the misdirect, so your initial quest that you are summoned to do is and there's a little bit of time travel, but you're summoned by a wizard who is someone that you know, and they advise you that there's this wizard called Spellburn who is going to die in 3 days' time, and you need to retrieve their journal. So that the title of the adventure is called Spellburn's Lost Journal. So you're sent on this quest to get to this city and get into this wizard tower and retrieve Spellburn's journal and bring it back to the wizard. When you get to the town and when you get to the wizard tower, it takes you no time to find this journal. It's in the basement of the wizard tower. Over there's a green light emanating from this room where you find floating in a tank of water a baby mind flayer, which is the stand-in for E.T.
Nice.
And you've got to then get this mind flayer home, and then there's like these, now the wizards are after you, and like that's the whole kind of campaign, and you get chased through the city, and then you fly on a magical cart past the moon, and then
there was this one shot which I can't imagine playing it just like in one evening, one sit down session. It's got to be more, but there was a one shot about time. It was like Groundhog's Day.
Okay.
So they wake up in a village, and you got to be on point with your details with time travel, because like if you can't just say, if you want the time travel experience to be a surprise, you can't say, okay guys, we're going to be going back in time. Like mine was a time heist. I wanted them to go back in time, but I also wanted them to know you'll get stuck in the past and the door will close and then that's it. So it gives them a little bit of incentive to get back. But with this one, you wake up in a village and like a lot of detailed things happen, and there's like 4 or 5 like characters you run into that are doing things like throwing an axe, cooking a thing or whatever, and then you play out your day and you go back and you take a long rest, or you guys fall asleep somewhere and you wake up in that same room. And you go outside and the guy is like, good morning to you, or whatever. Same exact guy, same thing. And you just, and like, do the players pick that up? Do you roll a thing and let that, if they get it like an 18, like the first time, I guess you do like a check of like a 18. And if they didn't get it, they go on and do that. It's weird. It's the same. I would imagine they would figure it out. The next day you lower the DC, obviously. But, so you could do like a time lap like that. But I don't.
Spencer, you just gave me the greatest start for a campaign. If you come in, you do your first session, and the second session, you just start over at the first session again. Assume that everything hasn't happened.
Well, I just
see until someone figures out that you keep replaying the same day.
I just feel like the way you do
I love it.
The way you do it, and like Denny, you were saying like players, keep the players involved. Like, do you have that group of players that can like separate their mind's eye from the PC and the players? Can you do that? That's crucial. But I feel like as a DM, describing the surroundings, describing important things, when they happen, especially in the time traveling, the lady, I don't know, you go you see the castle, it's being built, and they're almost finished, and the king has invited you to, the king's wife is pregnant or whatever, and they're having a thing, and then you go into the water to wash up or whatever it is, you pass a river, go into a forest and come back out. You don't have to explain it really, and the castle's just starting to get built, that sort of thing.
Okay, I think I love this. I think if you're you're in campaign mode, okay, get into one-shot mode. building of castles, building of roads,
That takes
assembling of armies. We don't have time to do that in 3 hours. But I love this. I love this in the sense that you wake up in the inn, okay? And like the first thing, you come out of the inn and you need like memorable, like a handful of events. But like one event is like you see like a courier like on horseback, sort of like riding toward like the Dark Tower, and you've been brought to this city to like get to the Dark Tower and like defeat this wizard that's taken over the city. You don't need a complicated story behind it, but you've got these 3 story beats that sort of happen in sequence, like on your path to the tower. And then when you get to the tower, the wizard is like, I've assembled like the 3 jewels of majesty, and I'm unbeatable. And like zap, 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 like kills the players pretty much instantly. You wake up and you're back in the inn and you do it all again. And actually, each one of these story beats that keeps replaying themselves, you have to alter how they happen so that by the time you get to this big bad at the end of the day, he doesn't have these 3 artifacts, whatever the fuck like, you know what I mean, what the artifacts are doesn't matter, but then you can battle him and basically he's got a real stat block when you get to him and doesn't have the artifacts. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
so it's like all right, imagine take a step back in Marvel when they had the timelines. They're going to go back and they're going to put the stones back exactly where they came from, so it'll stop whatever whatever issues with time happens. And also with the Back to the Future example, like, you need to make sure that the things that you see before going back in time still happen. So imagine like the wizard wakes you guys up. You guys need to go back in time and get this thing, whatever. And the description that you use to describe it, you see the wizard and his henchman come in. The henchman has like a black eye, and he's gonna say, "Go find this henchman at the town fair or whatever it is," and you got to make sure that you bring these 4 things back in and make sure that it happens exactly, when right before you go back, we need to have everything the same. And maybe like the henchman has like a black eye or something like that. And so you guys now are on like have to go back and you have to make sure that the henchman gets a punch in the face and has a black eye. You need to make sure that the items that the wizard has on him, he has, and then like you have to convince this guy that you're coming back from the future, and then gain his trust to go into here. It's like you need to go convince me to.
So less of a Groundhog's Day, more of an Avengers.
Yeah, or like I forgot what movie it is where he's like, "Go find me at the something and convince me that you're here to help." Tell me this, and I'll and like that's like a one shot, like boom. But what would happen if like you failed and you didn't get the items or like whatever it was you're looking for, or make sure that this person dies, hey, you need to go back in time. So there's another time warrior in the back, he's trying to kill this guy and he's dead, you need to prevent that or whatever.
No, that's great. Like I'm pulling the Groundhog's Day thread.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
No. But so because I think what you're describing, I think you're really well describing a time travel campaign that would be like super super intense and super super fun. I think what you're describing sounds awesome.
I think I'm just a campaign guy. That's what I am.
Guy. But if we want a one shot, so one of the cool things about designing a one shot is we're playing fucking Dungeons and Dragons. Like suspension of disbelief is the cost of admission. So wizard comes to you. So you show up in a tavern. Wizard pulls you aside, says, "Hey, you're all here because you're heeding the call to adventure. Maybe you know each other, maybe you don't." Wizard says, "Listen, I've got a really fun proposition for you. I have this time-turning device, and the good news is that you can replay tomorrow as many times as it takes to complete this quest. The bad news is every time you fail, you're going to die a horrible death. Are you in?" And of course, the players are like, "Fuck yeah, I'm in." So it's like, great, tomorrow morning when you wake up, a dark storm is going to roll into town. I know this because I'm a time-seeing wizard. I live outside of time. Tomorrow, a dark storm is going to roll into town. At the center of this dark storm is a dark wizard. Defeat the dark wizard and go on and live your life. Like, that's your hook. And then you play the first day, you get to the dark wizard, and you go, all right, what do I need to do differently tomorrow? But remember, you want to play this in 3 hours.
Yes.
So you and part of that is getting your players on board to be like, hey, don't spend 45 fucking minutes talking to the axe throwing guy. Like, get in, get out, like, keep it moving.
You put a time on it. You only have 2 hours game time, or not like our game time. You only have 2 hours or like 60 minutes. The time field only lasts 60 minutes.
Right.
Or you'll be stuck in the warp forever.
Chris, I can see your brain wheels are turning.
Well, you can dive into fantasy for ways to help speed all of that up too. I'm forgetting the name of the movie. Common theme for tonight. There's a Tom Cruise movie where he's trying to fight a bunch of people and he goes back in a mech suit, and it's once they get the pattern and get the idea of the things they have to do, just like everything else, you can shortcut the bullshit, shortcut the boring stuff. So once they figure out the plan, you're like, okay, what's the plan for this one? And just like,
yeah. So the name
sit down with the players, go through the nitty gritty, and then RP the stuff you need to when you have to, and just move along, get it out there.
Right. You are spot on. The name of the movie, by the way, is Edge of Tomorrow, and you're right.
Yes.
Edge of Tomorrow.
The first encounter is, hey, there is a courier that unknowingly has this wizard's sword like taped to the bottom of their cart, and they're going to get hijacked down the road by the wizard's minion, and the sword's going to get taken. As soon as your players go, hey, I'm going to just talk to this person, whether it's intimidation, whether it's, I'm going to talk to this person. I'm going to distract them while the rogue steals the sword from underneath the cart, whatever the answer is. Once they do that encounter once, on day 2, you go, yes, you do that thing. Keep it moving. Like, yep. They don't have to like replay the encounter over and over. Chris, that's genius. So I think if you want to give like full immersion, like I try to write every one shot to try to at least like touch on all of the different things that you could do in a campaign. You can't always do it, but like one of these things, you're gonna have a combat encounter at the end no matter what.
Right.
So if you have like a skills-based challenge and you have like 2 social encounters, like that's enough. You know what I mean? Like, what's our audience think about all this?
Our audience, let's see what. I'm sure they consider Self a Fairy. That's genius. It keeps players thinking instead of dwelling on what happened. Thing is, he says, they're going off on random tangents. Hey, random tangents is fine.
Go ahead, Dan.
No, please.
I was gonna say one thing that I've definitely figured out from hearing the two of you talk about all of your time travel ideas, and I love it, is if you're DMing and you're throwing time travel in there, put down on paper the timelines of what's happening so you can keep track of the things you need to keep track of and the things that change. Because that's, for me, that's the hardest thing, is keeping everything in place, keeping all the puzzle pieces in order and remembering that, oh yeah, they did this, so everything's all changed.
Grimm's the second agrees with you. He says I think it's a good idea, Chris. Just in case anyone wants to know, the one shot that I was referring to with the time loop is called the Pudding Fair.
Fair. Interesting.
Yeah. It's I could send it to you. Yeah, it's low level, but yeah. So I think, so to answer the question of like time traveling, it doesn't break any. Like, again, as you said, Dan, you're there to play a game. So like, that's the first thing. But also, like, can it break the game? Yes, but I always tell Chris this stuff. I'm like, if you let it break it, like, what's the worst thing that happens? Like, if you're stuck in the realm of campaigns like I am, like, so what? You go in the back in the future and you come back. Let's just say you have a campaign and it gets boring and you want to play this like Pudding Fair thing, or you want to have like a time heist, which is what we did. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah. We're going back in time. Like, I'm tired of this like maze crap. Let's go back in time to the time before, wherever that is. And whatever they do, you have to explain in the future. And they decided at the very end, Matt flipped a coin and convinced, he was like, they wanted to know whether or not the world was flat or round. And the Mind Flayers and the evil ones who took over and destroyed the city, who are still alive, present today, are still trying to spread that disbelief to people, or belief to people, whether they're right or wrong. I haven't figured out whether or not the world's round or flat. Matt flipped a coin, and then it was hilarious. They went from believing that the world was round to believing that the world was flat. So in the future, all of the Mind Flayer shit now is just solely based on telling flat people Earth. That the world, yeah, they're like, if there are any round earthers, we're gonna put a tadpole in that brain.
That's so funny. That's yeah. Well, and the thing is that, look, like, nothing. You don't have to be a seasoned DM to just, nothing that the players can do can break your game. I think we talked about this the last time I was on. Like, you see people online that go like, well, an Aarakocra at level 1 with a short bow can beat this monster. No, it can't. None of you fucking say it can't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think you can just, you as a DM can work your way around these things. I mean, I'll never forget, gosh, playing D&D with perfect strangers is crazy. Like, you guys think playing with your friends is tough? Like, I once, I had written a kind of complicated, maybe more complicated than I would have liked, one shot, and it was supposed to be a mystery in the vein. It was very like Scooby-Doo inspired. And it was a Halloween one shot, and I put out a call on like a Discord of like, hey, people who are local to Colorado, like people local to Denver, they may want to play D&D this Friday at this like game store. And I had 2 people who were my personal friends, and then 3 people that were like complete strangers. And I told them, I said, this is a mystery. It's going to be like a lot of role play, a lot of social encounter, not a lot of combat. You're welcome to bring your own character, but also I have characters that you can use, because I'm not really trying to like stress test. I just want to see how it plays, right? And the characters were all based on like the characters from Scooby-Doo, which I thought was cool. Like, my favorite was Velma was like an automaton called Melva, but like very much like a robot. Anyway, so so this person shows up, and this person has this like min-max build that I couldn't even replay, but this is not a joke. He gets up and he describes himself, and he says, well, my character is a lot like and I don't want to be insulting to anybody who likes anime. I've liked them in the past. But he goes, this character looks just like Bubuka from the Hayamara anime. You know what I mean, right? And we're all like, no.
I have no idea what you're even saying.
And he goes, well, and I'm like, oh, jeez, I get this. I know exactly who you are from Reddit already. Like which Reddit poster you are. He goes, she's a hoplite and has like a long spear that does like 2D, all of this stuff. And I go, okay, we're here to do an investigation. So I literally have all these characters looking for clues. This fucking guy can't find a clue to save his life. Okay, and then also like the dice were on my side. Also couldn't make a dex save to save life. So he's like tripping over shit all the time, and I'm just like, I think there's no such thing as like a player showing up to your game and going like, I'm gonna break your game. Like, I'll break you, player. Like,
oh yeah. Well, we've been tested. Listen, sometimes the DM needs to be tested. You know.
No.
You know.
It's not testing the DM. It's testing the bounds of the game.
Yeah.
And how far we want to take things.
Well, there's a problem player, and then there's testing. And I answer like both with strong force.
It's like how far along in this conversation do you want me to get with this mind flayer? Like, do you really want me to take her upstairs? Do you really want to roleplay that out?
I did. We did roleplay that out. I ended the scene, and then I had Aaron walk in, and I was like, Aaron, describe this thing.
Describe what you see.
Had him take the. Yeah, well, that's just players and stuff. You know, I had this brilliant idea.
It's like you broke the game with that one.
Yeah.
You know what I do? I get to. So talk about plot threads that never get pulled. So, in my long-running campaign, first of all, flirting with your friends is tough as it is.
No, it's hilarious and it's fun, and you should try and do it all the time.
So in the campaign we just wrapped, there was a I think we talked about this the last time we was on. I love a rival adventuring party. So there was a rival adventuring party, sort of like in the same space as the adventurers, and they were called the Marauders of the Multiverse, based on the Guardians of the Galaxy. Their leader, based on like Star-Lord from the Guardians of the Galaxy, but was this female character called Penny Piper, and like a bard. And then we have a bard, and they just like bard on bard, like chemistry, like instantly. Now, like side note, I might have mentioned this in the last. Our bard has this like sentient weapon who has a crush on him. So every time he's flirting with the bard from the other party, his own sentient weapon is like blasting him in the brain, like okay. But it never got to that point. I had this whole idea of like this bard from this other adventuring party actually being like a changeling and like not being this beautiful woman. But like we never made. But I was just ready. I had that like my hand on my hip, like ready to pull that card if things got too weird for me. But they never did. So that's a plot device that never got used.
On one of the last, we do every other Let's Talk Lore we do. We're trying to invite D&D creators on. Whether it's like you create your books and your campaign guides and whatnot. I really want to get someone who makes dice. I just want to know how the hell they do that.
Right.
But
I have these on my desk right next to them because I've been using them.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, your son was like super into the Mykokin manuscript, wasn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Oh yeah, the pirate.
I'm using them for a little plot line in West Marches I'm DMing with. Love it. I'm excited.
I'm happy that you like it. But so I will tell you right now, and I'm like scanning my room. Making dice is the easiest, most difficult thing you're ever going to do in your entire life. It is super easy. to make B+ dice, and it is. I've never in my life made an A+, made a single A+ die, but I've made lots of like B+ before.
Like I would imagine this thing is gonna roll. Like what's the what issues do you have with the
It all comes down. Tell you what it comes down to. Hold on.
geometry?
Is actually like the sanding and polishing process. So like these are Dice Masters. So what I wanted to make in mass was, and I don't think the camera on like I don't think the zoom camera is going to do this any justice, but what I wanted to make in mass was just like D6s. So these are 3D printed and like sanded down.
Yeah.
Like sanded these down to like, now see how good they look?
Yeah.
They look like they're mirror perfect. They're not fucking perfect at all. And you only know they're not perfect when you try to cast them in silicone and you go, like, I guess those are little like fingerprint like imperfections on every single I don't know. This doesn't make for good podcasting.
Yeah. I need to know. I did my fair share of. So in college, I worked for a special effects artist, and all he did was, and he was really good, Stephen Tolan, and he would make costumes for horror movies, and he would and he was such a good sculptor, and then he would put the silicone thing, and I would mix the two chemicals. And that was it. Dude, his shit was amazing. It was amazing. Now, could he do a die? Like, that's... I don't even know. I don't even know. But that's just,
Here's my suspicion. And I don't know this person, and it sounds like they are a master of their craft. But I would imagine if you want to make me an over-the-head rubber mask that looks like a mind flayer, right? Every imperfection in the skin of the mind flayer gives it character, right? Like, so like if you have like a little, like one of the tentacles has like a weird fingernail print in it or a weird dent, and it's like, yeah, this mind flayer is 200 years old. Of course they're not like a perfect cartoon drawing, but when you make a die, every angle needs to be 90 degrees. 90,
yeah.
Like it is such a precise thing. So the people who do it, my hat goes off to them. If anybody is interested in B+ dice, I can make it. But and that's
hilarious. That was a long random tangent. But
yeah.
But I was just saying that to tie it back to the we were talking about like hitting on your players and trying to, that type of thing. One of the last creators that we interviewed was Stefan from Silver Monarch. He's making his own campaign book. He's like right there. He's right there. This guy was Chris. Where was he from again?
Serbia.
Serbia, dude. This guy stayed up till like 3 a.m. to get on. It was crazy, dude. It was crazy. And I was like, and it was funny. The topic that they chose was love in D&D, and I was like, all right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the lore, let's talk lore poll topic, and he was like, there is no love in my Silver Monarch. I was like, oh shit, no, I mean like.
Hey, I just want to tell you, I want to interrupt you 1 second. Your accent work is impeccable, Spence.
Thank you. Sometimes it comes out. It comes out like here, at the game table. It's not that great. It's not that great.
Go on.
My accents only come out when I'm reading stories to my son, but now I'm not allowed to do accents there.
That's what I'm gonna do. I gotta start reading to Margot, and I gotta read like in French. I have no idea how to do that. That was the most amazing. So, do you reward your players for? I mean, obviously like inspiration and stuff like that, but do you just like break the character real quick, and you're like, dude, I love that accent, just absolutely love that, or like.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you, yes, is the short answer to your question is yes. I mean, if you can get me to like break, I'm not I want my games to be fun and funny and but if you can get me to break in roleplay, I'll let you do whatever you want.
Yeah. Chris and I had planned a game, and then no one could show up, and so we were like, dude, fuck it, we are going to play. It's just gonna be the two of us. You'll DM and and he DM'd, and dude, he kept the French accent the whole time. I was like, it's just me. We can,
if Evil Titantaber's coming out, I'm getting into character and I have to stay in it.
So
otherwise
funny.
It's gone forever.
I'm sitting there. I'm like, are people watching?
Well, so suspense. What you don't know is Chris actually styles himself as a method DM. He was actually in that French accent character for 3 days before, and
I was. That whole time that I was DMing that short adventure, from the moment that I realized that it's going to be a French-themed town, I was doing that accent in the car, at work, everywhere.
Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder.
Thunder, absolutely.
But creepy, high-pitched French guy. That was crazy.
I mean, if you're not walking around your kitchen talking to yourself, if your wife has never caught you practicing a monologue, you're not a real DM. That's just
my favorite is when I'm trying to do it and I look over and in the door frame she's just standing there looking at me like.
Yes, that's what I mean. That is exactly. If this, I'm telling for the DMs out there, if this is not resonating with you, that this part of the show, you got a long way to go.
Try some more voices at home.
Try some more voices. You're not doing voice work at home.
It's not. It's perfectly okay to talk to yourself in a mirror.
Yeah. So here's an idea, and here's a random tangent. So I always have this button I always wanted to press. Boom, random tangent. With the buzzer, Chris, I finally got it. Once we interview enough creators, I want to have a one-shot with the creators. And then I want you to be there. We'll play on,
Spencer, I have told you. Text me if a player drops out. I'll show up. I have more characters sitting around that have never seen the light of day. I'll show up. You need a character. You need somebody. I'll play.
Yeah. So there you go. Perfect.
Well, and I think.
But
my personal. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Just to bring the community together, I think that would be fucking hilarious, dude. If we get Stefan we got to work out the time wise, But if we had him, dude, oh my god, he's so cool. And just his personality, was so smart, dude. This guy was, and he was 23. I was like, wow, this guy is very smart, very worn,
insightful,
and you can tell he's gone. He's seen some things, and dude, having him as a character would just be I don't even know if you have to play. He could play himself almost. What do you think? What do you think? It was the rogue that wants to just the evil guy, or whatever. There's no love here.
The edgelord.
There is no love here. But he'll find
love. Well, Spencer, I'll DM so you can play with everyone.
But you know what? So plot twist. He shows up. His character has a Texas accent, and you're like, "Where did that come from?"
Yeah.
And his character talks like Foghorn Leghorn, and you're like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, perfectly.
Yes, I do accent work as well.
Yeah.
Pulls out a perfect Valley Girl.
That's so funny. So so now that you've finished your long campaign, what's the next? Are you doing a bunch of one shots now just to regroup, or what's the plan?
No, so I think we're doing a little bit of pass the hat, let some other folks DM.
Because you were the
I was a DM for
the forever. Yeah.
So right now, some other folks have expressed interest in, playing the role of Dungeon Master. I think candidly, we have just as much fun getting on with this group in particular. We have just as much fun getting on and playing. Have you ever played like Codenames? It's not a D&D game. Like it's just like a board game where like you play in two teams. You try to make people guess words. Like we'll get on and play like other games and stuff, but you know, I don't want to like push the D&D envelope. Like if people want to, I think people want a little bit of a break. I think everybody in the group toward the end of the campaign, they were playing our online game and some form of like in-person D&D, and like in-person D&D is just so much better. Like, you know, I tell you, like you say to me, you say like, hey, you're a player, and you go, hey, can I pick up this chair and throw it at that thing? And I go, sure. And then you go, I go, roll a d20, and you roll, and then I get hits, and I go, I don't know, roll 2d6, and you roll two dice. Like that, just in rapid succession. When you're playing online, and it's like, well, hold on.
Yeah, there's a lot of
How do I
delay.
get? Like, all right, type in /roll. Like, it is just like such a pain in the ass to do some certain things online, and like, you know, I really like, you know, and Jess, my wife, is you know, she and actually Garth Avery from GLHF, who's a, you know, a good friend of mine who was in my online campaign. They both shared this sentiment of I sit at a desk in front of a computer for 8 hours a day. I don't then also want my leisure time to be another 3 hours in front of the computer. That's now me.
Yeah.
I'm a lifelong gamer, so like I don't like. I wish I could like have this computer just like attached to my head at all times, and like, but like, I think there's, you know, that makes me happy.
When I always say this, when I've only like played in person about a year before the pandemic with a small group of friends, but it never kept going. So it was those different people. Chris, you were part of the end of that chapter. But when I met Chris down in Florida, dude, I traveled to go play with him. That was so fucking fun. Oh my god, that was like
he came down. It was supposed to be everyone in our campaign was going to come down. We're going to play in person at our property, and the only one who could actually make it was Spencer. So I'm like, fuck it, we're still going to play, and we're going to have this random side quest, and we're just the two of us sitting outside playing like 4.5 hours. Pause, get pizza.
Half of everything is showing up.
Yeah.
It was fucking.
Have either
awesome.
of you ever have either of you ever just like got out and played with like randoms at like a bar?
I want to do this. So there are a couple shops around that do this. My brother first, when he was doing it, he actually introduced me to it. He got up and he went to Columbia on the west side and sat in the bar there. And dude, he said that the type of people, he's like, it's just a weird mix of like, you know, but you got to keep in mind, you're also one of those weird people too, you know. and he's like it was just weird, but then like you get a group, it clicks, and then you just start, you know. I think that would be cool, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I was going, there was a bar, I was going to Tuesday night. The way that they did it was a little bit neurotic, but like kind of cool, where they were like, hey, you show up with a level 1 character, and every time you play in a one-shot, you get one piece of experience, and you need one piece, like you need a number of pieces of experience equal to your level to go to the next level. So like you play in one game, like you're level 2, you play in 2 more, now you're level 3, and then once you get to level 5, you like cap out, and then you make a new character. So and then as the DMs, you're told like, hey, this is going to be a mixed group of like the first 5 people that show up go to one table, and like you might have 2 level 2s and a level 4 and like a level 5, like but it was a lot of fun. But you do fall into a rhythm where you're like, oh, this dude, I like playing with this dude. That person over there, not a fan of the way they make it weird every game. Like,
yeah.
yeah, like there was
Mythic Mind says, wait, where he says, Spence, remind the players they may be weird, but their characters are weirder. Play the character, not the player.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. That is a really great piece of advice, Mythic Mind. But yeah, we had one guy that would show up, older than me, and like I'm almost 40. Like older guy, and he would show up, and he would just be. He was another person who would talk about like my character's an anime girl, and they have huge titties, and I'm just like, why? Why is that like why is that important to like what we're doing here? Like, and then like I don't know.
Yeah, but here's the thing: there's only one. You know, then that's it. That's like we build off of it. Be like, okay, and then, jeez. But you know,
what is she doing with those? Is she distracting everyone so we can steal everything? Then we're talking.
Chris, roll a deception to see if she notices that you're staring.
I choose to fail.
Yeah, no, people are weird, but whatever. I feel like I need to get out into the real world once in a while. Just go and
then you can start collecting dice.
And I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back, Chris. I'm gonna be like, I have so much more appreciation for you than.
Well, my wife found my current in-person group for me at a bookstore. She was talking. She's like, that guy probably plays D&D, and she ran up, asked him, and gave him my number to contact the group. And like 3.5 years into playing with these people every Tuesday, they're great.
Funny.
In person, the in-person game is the one day of the week where my wife allows me to go do something before my son goes to sleep. So like the in-person game, I love it. It's amazing. Yeah. And random people, I've played most of my games of Dungeons & Dragons in West Marches online. And just like random Discord servers, and you get the most random ass people in the world that you play with, but some I love. I would play weekly campaigns with them for a long time if I had the time to do that. And there's other people who are like, they're joining a game. I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be 4.5 hours of the most boring combat because they can't figure out what the hell they're doing every time. But it gives you, like what Spencer said, it gives you the appreciation for the people you love to play with, the people that you, when you do play with them, everything clicks and you're wanting the role play and you're wanting to dive into the stories, and there's those people that you always remember, their characters that you do remember, and it's always fun to play with and find those new people.
It's weird, I keep getting hung up on the fact that I think I'm a campaign guy, like. Like I've had I like grand salami,
Well, you know what? So hey, I'm a campaign guy too, and I'll prove it to you. And I say this only because I know Chris has the books on his desk. If you open up the Conjured Compendium, which is the book that we have a bunch of subclasses in, I think that is proof. Oh, I didn't mean for you to have to get it off the shelf. But
the one I didn't have on my desk.
That I'm a campaign guy. So there's a subclass in there, a cleric subclass. So the chosen cleric is like, you are your deity's like favored cleric, and like there's all of these things where like once per day you can like commune with your deity, like, and you can do all this like really cool stuff. If your game that you show up to is, all right, you're in a tavern, walk into that cave, go kill a monster for me and bring me back its head, like, and that's your one shot. Does it matter if you can have a really great relationship with your deity or not? Like, you know what I mean? Like, those are the types of things that really play out over like a long campaign where like you have the DM. And like you as a DM can be like, you know what, I want to change it up a little bit. And it's like, hey, I'm your deity. Like, I'm here to tell you you're an asshole. Like, whatever. Like, you can like, and you can do these sorts of like, far out things. And like, I talked earlier, right, about like my friend, my buddy played a bard, carried a sentient weapon, and the sentient weapon had a crush on him. Like, that works so well in like long form D&D. You're not going to get those in like a 3-hour session where these characters never come back. And that's actually what was fun about the Tuesday game that I was talking about. You'd show up with your level 2 character, you might not, even though it's not a long campaign, it's just a series of one-shots, like, you bring that character back and you play with a person, and they're like, oh, like, my character knows your character. Like, they've gone on an adventure before. And you get, like, a little bit of that, like, world building out of it.
Mythic Minds wants to know, Dan, ever made a wild subclass?
Have I ever made, when you say wild, you mean like something that like didn't make a book because it was like too off the wall?
And he says, what? And why?
Ever make a wild subclass? Well, I think the ones that made the most recent book, were really, it was really, and I think I might have talked about this on the last episode. I don't want to like repeat it.
Yeah.
But I would say making player features, making subclasses is tough. So I've definitely made a bunch of, like, I have a bunch of draft work that like just didn't pan out, either because it wasn't fun or it didn't have the, like, it didn't feel complete, or it felt too much like something else that existed. I think that there are so many really talented creators out there. If you go on to like Reddit, you go to the like Unearthed Arcana subreddit, or some of the behind the screen, there is so much really great stuff out there that it's really tough to not like step on someone else's work.
Right.
But with the Conjured Companions, I love a summoning class. I like in everything I play. So that was really where that was born from. And I think I told you guys the story. The first subclass that we actually wrote for that book was the Osteomancer, which for Mythic's benefit is like it's a sorcerer that summons bone constructs. And it was born because I had a player. I know I told you guys the story. I had a player who wanted to play a necromancer, but he was banned from being an evil character. So we dreamt up this idea of like, all right, you're a necromancer, but by accident, like, and that is sort of like the ethos of the Osteomancer. But yeah, I mean, check it out, Mythic, if you're interested.
Have you ever played like sometimes like a small little break? So like when I took a break and I let Chris DM, or there's like a holiday and you have to, every 2 weeks I feel like is the best. That's like the best I can get right now. I've got like twins and a 3-year-old. It's just whew.
And life.
Yeah. But that said, I feel like the rhythm of the 2 week is enough where you can sort of, I mean, how much time do you need to plan your one shots? Like, how much time do you need to allot? There have certainly been many times where life is life, and life first, family first, and I show up and I'm like, I've been talking a big game on this group chat and I've got nothing planned. But sometimes those are the best ones though, right? So
yeah.
Like,
well, let me ask you this: like, do you ever use any like random encounter tables?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got a bunch. Yes, absolutely. I download and I like to download like one for, I do like a combat one of like preferably I'd like to have like no combat, like a random encounter of some kind, and then like something like not so.
So let's take a step back. You asked, so I heard 2 things in your questions. Your question was, how long does it take you to prep for a one shot?
Yeah.
then you went on to say, sometimes I talk a big game in my group chat, and and people show up,
Yeah.
and for the next session of your campaign.
Yeah.
But like, are you using one shot and like session interchangeably?
So sometimes I feel like so the way I'm trying to create my campaign book is in chapters, and we're gonna go do what we're gonna do in the world, and I'm not gonna railroad these guys or sandbox, whatever the term is. I don't want these guys to feel like they have to play the thing that I want them to do. But when we get to an area, I have sort of planned that dungeon out, that story, that plot line, but getting there, I don't really know. Like when we're traveling in the skies, like, dude, I have no like. That's like a one shot, and I did it in like a week, maybe.
Yeah. So I think to answer your question, I think I can go I can go either way. So I can show up no prep, and we could play some D&D, and like I could just sort of pull something together quick. Give me a couple of tables, like you're here. But I think a campaign, it takes a lot of process. Whether a sandbox campaign is really tough. Like I think take cues. People. There's a lot of critics out there who will like criticize the way that some of the books are written, but take cues from some. Honestly, some of the shortest campaign adventures will give you the best sense. So like Icespire Peak, like I swear by that. And there's a guy, I think his name is Bob the World Builder. I think that's who put it together, if I'm not mistaken. There's like an enhanced version of Dragon of Icespire Peak out there, and that is a great example of like a series of encounters that tells a cohesive story, and definitely can't be done over like a single session. If you're looking for a good sandbox book, Icewind Dale is a good sandbox book with an overarching story. Storm King's Thunder feels like you're playing Elden Ring. Like you could go off. I just mean like Storm King's Thunder. There's entire like one chapter. You could spend 6 months in like 25 pages of that book, just like wandering around and like not moving forward, but like there's plenty to do kind of thing. That's like an old style campaign. But as far as like a one shot goes, like a true one shot where you go, hey, we're going to take a break from our campaign, show up on Monday with a level 7 character, and I'll bring the rest. I think that is something that probably takes, I don't know, 20 hours of prep. If you worked on it for like 2 hours a night for like 2 weeks, you probably to put something really.
Yeah. Really... Well, Chris, when you did that one shot with Evil Titan Tamer, that was one cool one night.
That was a flashback.
Yeah, flashback.
Because essentially, it's like we wanted to throw something together. It was just going to be the two of us. And I was trying to think of what could be cool that could tell part of the story, but not like take up much. So we did the flashback, and that I had a lot of time already pre-built into it because I already had the adventure that I was going to run there, or we were running. Forget. Already planned. So I had already like hours upon hours of brainstorming and figuring out the story. So I already knew the story of what it could be. So the time to figure out what was going to happen, where we're going to go, how it's going to work, that was already done because the planning was already done ahead of time. So I think if you're taking a snippet from something you've already created, the prep time is going to be very minimal. But if you're building something from scratch, from nothing, if like the one shot that you came down and I ran for you and some of my friends, complete from nothing, that I probably spent like 10-15 hours of trying to figure everything out, and I still wasn't happy with how it turned out.
I don't know. I love the random tables because I completely forgot that like I used to do a lot more random tables. In fact, I used to like
That was your thing.
when it would die down in the office. I would just print out and look up as many hilarious. Like I would have a hilarious one. I would have like weather, all this other stuff, and like sometimes a random encounter table where it's just the weather. Like, okay, you don't have to always have like a combat or like you run into like a grizzly, whatever, or like a plot hook. It could just be like you guys are strolling and it's raining, and you see
or like
the beauty of the blah blah blah.
Your Tri-Guard encounter table where it was random things that were happening in a city.
The Tri-Guard encounter table. So that was the one shot where I would show up and I didn't know. It was like a couple days of playing, but like I didn't really have that much planned out because all you guys were doing is walking through the city, and it was so cool because the random encounters were just hilarious. You walk like every street you walk on, you run into like a, you think about it, walking down New York City or whatever city you're in, like you're gonna have 2 encounters per block, and they're not gonna be like combat and like interesting encounters for the most part,
Well, so I don't know if so one of the tools that I have with me, you come back to one of the first questions you asked, which is like, how do you manage like travel between, what do you do? So I have a D100 table somewhere. I can send it to you, or you can find your own, I'm sure, of just it's called like weird places to find treasure, and I crowdsourced it. So there's a subreddit on Reddit called like the D100 subreddit where you can just have people just crowdsource for you like a D100 table. And I did this probably now maybe 6 or 7 years ago. But you roll on that table and it's like, it's an abandoned 1-room cabin with like a rocking chair inside. You let your players loose on that, and sometimes they go like, do I find anything? But sometimes like they will, if you listen, they will make up their own story. So like I've had adventurers or players, I'll say, walk into that cabin and go, yo, I bet you a serial killer lives here. And you as a DM silently go, he does now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and there is or they go like, wait, I bet you that rocking chair is a mimic. And then you go, yes, it is. Like they, like, you know what I mean? And then, and here's like the fun part of it, right? Is like, they get so much validation for being right.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, it is this like self-fulfilling loop of like, they're happy because like they figured something out. Like, you didn't get one over on us. And I was like, you're right. Like, yeah. But like, and I think that's like, that can be just as fun. I remember once, God, it was called the Mime Fish. And I don't even know how we got there, but it was like a tepid pool, and in the middle there's like a weird like fish-like creature that like mimics your movements. Man, they spent like 2 hours with this thing. And like, I didn't know. I had no idea what the encounter was going to be when they showed up. But they started playing with this thing. I started playing back. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, okay, like this thing mimics your movement, and they're like, if we want to kill this thing, I go, what? Like we have to like make this fish like drown itself. So they're like, and I'm like, sure, man, like you win the encounter. Here's some treasure that you don't want. Like, and I think that's, not every session has to be, I don't let the Serbian guy hear me say this, but like not every session needs to be like pounding the pavement.
Yes. You definitely need to have a rhythm to it. And it's weird because, you say, and the big campaign guy, we've been playing the same campaign for 4 years now, Chris, maybe.
Yep.
And you're not going to have a session. I always call it like an episode 8, because for whatever reason you know, about 7 or 8, maybe 9 episodes, like a big thing happens. Like you get to the temple, or like you know, there's an invasion, or there, you know, you find with whatever. But just like the 5-room dungeon, I feel like sessions sort of, if you're having like a 5-game session, like, or 5-session game rather, I feel like they should have that sort of rhythm where it's like the first room is like figuring things out. What the hell's going on? There's something happening, and then like that's 4 hours of that. But you got plenty of like shit to do while you're doing it. But then like, you know, the next room, or the next session, you get a taste. You know,
we get you a T-shirt that says "I'm a campaign guy."
Yeah. Yes.
A 5-room dungeon, and this guy
Right.
spent. Chris, do you hear him? He goes, "You're in a 5-room dungeon, so the first room's going to be 4 hours." No.
Yes. No, I've played
No,
those first rooms that are 4 hours long.
I don't mean that. What I mean is you're playing you know, like you're going to play like a story that's going to take
What is your, Spencer,
5 sessions.
What is your T-shirt size? I'm going to.
I'm literally texting Jamie right now, and I said he gave me a shirt that says "Campaign Guy."
I'm a campaign guy because I mean, like, I think one of the things that I'm the
That's
same.
hilarious.
For the audience who is meeting me maybe for the first time, I don't shut the fuck up. You get it. So for me, I had to teach myself. So that's the other thing. Going to random Tuesday night D&D with people who aren't your friends, the best way to like sharpen skills if you want to sharpen skills. But I had to teach myself, like, all right, I want to get through this one shot. I've got 2.5 hours to get through this. I've got story beats I want to hit. If at the 30-minute mark they're not up to Big Purple, the armor smith, I got to get them there. Like I gotta push them. I gotta go, and then the door opens. Like we can't fuck around. Like and I think that is a different muscle than like
Yes.
the box of like, yeah, just fucking. You wanna inspect every brick on the outside of the inn? Be my guest. Like I think there's that is a different skill to build, and it was really hard for me. It did not come naturally to me to build.
Yeah, I can't stand like the last Monday when we were playing that first puzzle room. Like all you had to do, all you had to do is make investigate, and for whatever reason I was like, wow, it's been a half hour,
Right.
bullshit and stuff, but like, yeah, it opens up.
Can I share my experience on this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, a couple of things are your friend in these situations. Okay? Number one, passive perception and passive investigation. Okay? They are your best friends. So, one of the things that I completely flipped the script on has been perception, right? When I was writing my first campaigns and my first
Interesting.
like when I was writing my first one-shots, a lot of it was based upon things that I had read in other D&D books, published stuff, and like Icespire Peak is a big one. That's probably the only one I've read cover to cover like several times, because I think there's so much in there because it's so well written for like new DMs, and you'll find things in there like, in the room there's a dresser, and if you investigate the dresser, you find a key. But players don't investigate the dresser. You know what I mean? Like if you investigate the floor, you'll find footprints. But nobody's going like, I'm looking for footprints. They don't know what the fuck they're looking for.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you can do is you can sort of nudge people and just move the game along. So like passive perception. So let's go back to the same scenario, the two that I said, right? First of all, passive investigation. If the DC on finding footprints is a DC 14, you go, hey, wizard, what is your passive perception? They go, well, my passive perception is, 15 or something. Then you go, great. You notice over in the corner that like the sand on the floor looks a little bit disturbed, and they go, oh, I'd like to investigate. Boom, like you like that. You're not cheating the game.
Yeah.
Same thing with passive perception. Say, hey, who's got the highest passive perception here? Somebody says, I got 16, I got 17. Go, great. Both of you notice this thing. Or, hey, just you, Chris, you and only you notice that the armoire is open ever so slightly. Nobody else notices it but you. What do you do? And then you go, oh, I tell Frank that the dresser looks weird. And you go, great. And Frank goes, I go and investigate the dresser. And like you're getting them through the story beats in a way that like helps you figure that stuff out. The other thing is, remember, even if your players are stupid idiots, their characters might not be stupid idiots. So on puzzles, I have tried to make almost every puzzle something that is like character skill enabled. So like, for example, like they're like, so you like think of like classic D&D puzzles. Like there's a room and there's like 3 statues, and like they're obviously religious statues, right? And like they're all holding a bowl in front of them, and like this is an offerings puzzle. Like you're supposed to put something in the bowls, right? And people don't know what to put in the bowls. Like, and you can immediately you can go, all right, well, if somebody makes a religion check, they can figure out what this thing is. And like it's different than like taking out a piece of paper and going, all right, everybody, pop quiz on D&D stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like, but there's like a way, and you're saying it differently than the way I like to say it. It's like you're pushing them along, and Mythic Mind says, hammer slammer. You don't have to nudge. You just hammer slammer them. But okay, you're in the room and you want them to go investigate the dresser, and no one's going over there or whatever it is, and let's just say you botch the play on the footprints. Well, you can always use the elements, or you can always use the like in what would happen in the real world. You come into a room and like, I don't know, maybe Chris, you go look at the window. And you look up and you see the moon, and the clouds open up, and the moon seems to be shining directly on the dresser. It keeps people immersed. It's not, and you're not like, so that subtle hint of go fucking open the dresser, asshole. But they're gonna go over there. But like this, I love the passive perception stuff. That's sick. That also gets you to know your character, or the player character stats a little better, because maybe you want to have some of those other passive rolls. I don't know, maybe there's like a strength one for your barbarian or whatever, that they can just go through, I guess, a door.
But that's a concept that I heard years ago, and I love it, and I apply it to everything, including investigating rooms. It's don't gatekeep information you need to get to people. Right. It's like if there's a clue that puts a story along, why is it behind a check? If there's stuff that you want your players to find and investigate, and let the check be how much you describe it, or how much information they know about it. But if there's something that you want them to have and know, give it to them. You don't have to like keep putting the breadcrumbs, trying to like slowly find the thing. Just give them the damn thing.
And also, like,
you hear a whisper come in from the window. People arguing on the street about how Jasper keeps all of his magic items in the cupboard.
Yeah, I love that one. But like, Chris, you're so right, because the worst feeling as a DM is when you want somebody to you need them to have something, and you go, all right, make a religion check 2, and you go, fuck, you have advantage. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like sometimes you just need to bypass the check altogether and just go. Your training. I have one. I had a puzzle once. It was a clue finding puzzle, whatever. But I had started writing into this campaign like in the notes, like if you are a paladin or a cleric, you know this information. Like there is no check, there is no curiosity.
Yeah.
It is a paladin or cleric would know this information. Hard stop. Now, if you're not one of those classes, then sure, like there's a check, and that makes sense in the context of the game, and it's not information that I need the person to know, but it is like sort of like above and beyond, and then I had sort of like sprinkled that throughout. And if you're a wizard or a sorcerer, you would know this other thing and another whatever. But like I think you're right. I think you just don't gatekeep. I love that. That should be
Yeah.
good. Don't gatekeep the things you need your players to have.
And that goes to something that I use all the time as a player is rolling a dice for a check is just trying to determine something that's not already set. So not everything has to be a dice roll. And me as a player, I know that I've hooked a DM and I've like diving them down the path I want to go when they stop asking for checks and they just start responding with narrative. And for me, that's a whole lot more immersive than like, all right, stop, hold on, let me roll the dice, check the number. But if the flow of the game flows with it. So yeah, not everything has to be a check. But yeah, the information you need to get there, just get it out there.
I think every DM knows this intuitively. You know, I'll give you a great example, right? Like, I'm a barbarian and, you know, I say, hey, I want to jump up on a chair. Nobody is going to tell me to make an acrobatics check. I go, I want to jump up on the roof. And all of a sudden you go, well, that's something that warrants a check. Like, and use that same logic. And every time, you know, I pick up this book, I want to know what's in it. Well, I don't think I need you to make an intelligence check to read the book. You know?
Yeah, I'm guilty of that.
Book.
I'm guilty of that. I do stupid investigation checks when it's like, okay, you finally open the drawer. Now give me an investigation check, dude. You don't need that. There's the key.
The Dungeon Master's Guide is really good to make DMs feel better about that stuff. If time is not a factor, you should be passing every check. These are seasoned adventurers. Like, there's a key in the bottom of this sock drawer. Like, now granted, in real life, I'm terrible. My wife will come out and tell you. Like, I could have the fridge open and be like,
oh yeah, dude, you and I are exactly alike.
And she'll be like, are you fucking? It's right. It's right in front of your face. But
and I get nasty about it too. I'm like, no, you put it somewhere, and now I'm late, and it's like in my pocket.
Yeah, exactly. But our adventurers are not me, and if our adventurers have unlimited time to rummage through the sock drawer, like, you found the key. Like, there doesn't need to be a check.
Yeah, you're heroes that you can do heroic things. You're gonna be able to open this damn door.
Right. Oh, the doors.
going back to Mythic Mind's door. Yeah, dude, that's good. I have to bring that in. And also, like, you know, I just like having, so just in general, I like reading the beats. So just like, so this is a different, you know, we'll have a summary topic, which we'll circle back to what we talked about, because I want to finish that with the finales. But like, so as I was saying, just like your 5-room dungeon, just like my 5-session game or whatever, like different beats. Yeah, different beats. There are certain times that I find that you want to slow down a little bit. Let the players do their shit, to investigate, not find anything. And then all of a sudden, you know, something happens. And when it happens, you know, depending on what it is, boom, 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 boom. But when I say boom, 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 I mean it's like you're dropping lore. I like the fact that like the combat encounters that right now in our like submarine thing that we're going through.
A submarine or an airship?
Well, so they found a crashed submarine on a mushroom island in the sky, and they are looking for this baby Zergo mind flayer.
Okay.
And so they went into this submarine. Anyway, every room I've decided that there's going to be like a little bit of like a lore drop, a little bit of taste, whether it takes a little bit of time to find it or not. But I will give it to you. But we're doing it like that one with the mirror, Chris. Like I had 6 mirrors, and like each mirror showed you a different timeline, time in the room, and like you essentially looked into the mirror, and each mirror that you got to eventually told, and it was not in order. I just rolled it randomly. So Chris, you went over to mirror 6 at the beginning. You see the room as it is, and then they went over to room 2, and you see like someone's fighting in the airship. They see like the reflection of past time or whatever, and then when you line them all up, you get the story. Doomhand came in there and crashed the ship, is looking for something.
Right.
Is he still there? I don't know. Progress to the next room. I like to sort of, when it's downtime like that, it's a good time to also do a little lore. Because then they're going to be like, okay, now I need to fucking find this key in the cupboard. Like something,
Look, I have a question for you, Spencer.
Yeah.
Are you more focused on telling the story of Doomhand or closing the story of Doomhand?
Telling. I haven't even gotten to it yet.
Okay, that explains it.
Why?
That answers my question.
Has anybody ever heard George Martin talk about? Gosh, I don't remember what the alternative is, but he refers to his storytelling style. He refers to himself as a gardener, and it's just a lot of this. It's a lot of like
Yeah.
oh, it's over here, and I think that can be really, really fun as a DM. And I think what I ran into, so remember I had a whole Jeopardy category in my like finale Jeopardy of like abandoned plot lines. I think you have to, as a DM sometimes, or at least I found that I had to kind of go, all right, let's make a linear path to the end here, and let's sort of rethink like the last third of this campaign, and like how can we get through this thing. And I'll give you an example. So your Hall of Mirrors sounds like a lot of fun. We had I'm really unoriginal. Like I base a lot of things on other things. So have either one of you played Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game?
Yes.
Okay. So spoiler alert for anybody who's never played the game, I'll give you a chance to.
That's the first one, right? That's the yeah. Great.
So,
great game.
That game, one of the things that happens is when you find the Master Sword, what they do in the game to like gatekeep the sword is they say, hey, like you've got to use so much of your strength that it like hurts you to pull this sword out of the ground, and if you haven't accumulated 18 hearts, you physically can't do it. And that's like the game's way of saying like you can't do this till you're like level.
Go level up.
So I took that and I said, all right, I want to do a bunch of lore, but I don't have time anymore. So we had a Master Sword situation where there's a sword in a pedestal, and it's like, all right, everybody in the party sort of like you know gets in together to sort of, then all of a sudden it's like you have this vision of this thing from the past. Everybody make a saving throw, and then it's like after every saving throw, either you're taking damage or you're like having a success, and then I'm going to tell you this whole story over the course of, so it's engaging for the players. So there's risk, right? Like they could run out of hit points and like not survive this encounter, but also like they're learning this story and also they're involved. You're not just like showering this story on them. For all intents and purposes, like the story moves forward by them making these dice rolls. Finally, it's tied back to their player characters. So it's not just like flip a coin. It's not just like roll a d6. It's like, hey, you're going to make a charisma, strength, or wisdom saving throw, right? Those are like the 3 parts of the Triforce, right? And those are going to be the saving throws that sort of move this story forward. So I think that was a lot. That was my solution instead of sending out a group text that, hey, everybody, here's a shitload of backstory that like I'm just going to cut out. You know, and I like your mirrors story too. I think that's really, really fun.
You know, but it's like you know, you walk into and I say this a lot with Chris when we do our normal Let's Talk Lore, when we're talking about just like you know, how do you do this in an immersive way, or how do you do that in an immersive way? But it's like you take from real life, dude. It's like you go into a church and you look up and you see the lore, the story. Okay, so
yeah,
you know, there's plenty of ways to like get that lore to those characters in a unique way, other than, you know, here's a paragraph. Like you see, you know, you see the sculptures, you see blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden, the sculpture is right next to a dresser with a, you know.
Oh, but what you just said. So the, you know, D&D is full of like frescoes. Like you're in this dungeon and there's this intricate scene carved into the wall. Like, and I tell you, players ask about the fresco about 30% of the time or less. So be prepared. But like sometimes you just got to go, all right, well, if it's not important to you, it's not important to me.
Yeah.
Let's keep
just
it moving.
Boom, describe it. Bam. It's, you know, I didn't spend too much time on it. I was like, you see in it a character attacking the guys, go. You know. But all right, let's wrap it up with the last we'll come back to it. Finales, because we are not close. We are close. I'd like to say we're more than halfway.
We have one of the skulls.
Well, but you
of
know
the 6.
You know where they all are now. So
we're not close. We have
level
one.
20. You're level 20.
Well, you know, maybe there's a way. So here, you know, one thing that you could do if you want to, you know, because if your campaign writing is anything like mine, you already know the end. And what you're gardening your way through is the middle. Like, one thing that you could potentially do, right? And maybe it's just because I love rival adventuring parties, but maybe they get to the location of the second skull, and it's fucking gone already. And they go, hey, there was another group of adventurers coming through here, and they already fought this thing. You show up where you think there's like a behemoth guarding one of your magic skulls, and all you find is the eviscerated corpse of this behemoth, no magic skull, and you are like, fuck. And maybe the whole script is flipped. You're no longer hunting the magic skulls. Some other group of adventurers got 5, and now they're hunting you.
Oh yeah.
And
yep.
that. And it's interesting because you want the same thing but different, right? So you're both going after Doomhand, and you're both but for different reasons. You guys want to go after Doomhand because you're champions of the realm, and you know that Doomhand you need to put an end to Doomhand's tyranny. These guys are like, no. We want to usurp Doomhand's power. We want to be tyrants.
Yeah.
Now, I think we're the second group.
Sure.
So it makes it perfect if there's some like champions of the realm that are coming to try and kill me.
That's
right.
hilarious.
So got the champions of the realm that are coming after you. Listen, I'm not trying to end your campaign. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We're sitting here going, we've been at this for 5 years, and we've got 1 out of 6 skulls. Do the math.
Well, I mean, we had 3 at one point, so like losing them is kind of our own dumbass fault.
Yeah, we had 3, and you guys gave it to 2. You guys gave it to the characters, and then they stopped playing. So Spencer had to figure out what happened with those ghosts. But right before they stopped playing, they wished it away. They wished one spell, one thing. But I got it planned out. I got it all planned out. But
I'm not trying.
I cannot wait to pick these. These guys are going to be. They don't have any crystals left for their ship to float on. In my game, they use crystals to power their ship. They've got nothing left, and all of a sudden, ahoy there! Fancy a ride, and it's the rival adventure party.
Well, Spencer, unfortunately for you, my character that just leveled up learned teleport, so we're gonna have a little bit of fun with that too.
Oh, that's great. Are you a wizard?
No, I'm a bard.
Oh, nice.
Creation bard. It's very fun.
I talked about this. Animating objects is like that is chef's kiss.
It is the bane of Spencer's session prep. Any dungeon that we go into does not have statues. That are the right size. Chris is like,
is this rock? How big is that?
So that's one of my favorite things as
you
a
just
player
take
to do.
the table too, and it's funny because on the digital I actually have like the tables, and Chris always picks like the one item I have put down. I'm like, okay, you guys are in the Mind Flayer lab, and I have like one lab table, and he's like, I'm gonna take this table, taking everything on it. It's animated now.
But my favorite thing to do as a player is you ask a whole bunch of questions without asking the actual question you need the answer to try and convince the DM to say yes before you tell them the stupid idea. And as a DM, I hate that the most. Like, just tell me the damn idea. Tell me you're going to take this table and shove it up, like, block the doorway. And we can figure it out.
Oh, dude, teleport's going to be awesome.
I don't need to know to go through and give you the exact density of the wood of the table and how.
Oak? Is this oak? Well, you guys are your contractor, right?
Yeah. You want
those guys are knocking on shit. Is this oak?
Yeah.
What is this? Is this walnut?
Yeah. What's the what's the one? That, it's
my wall, and now my dog is going crazy.
No, it's cedar. It's cedar, so they can smell you coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
What's this airship made of?
I just like the endings are bittersweet as they all are. But I really am like just enjoying like playing it and getting through. So like my goal is to have at least like we started with the forest. The forest was easy. I'm gonna just bang that campaign out at some point. I've already created all the encounters. I've already created the lore of the story of it and everything, and I've also like posted it on my Instagram. But I've got to go back now and just like download all the images and all the crap that I have and put it together. But like I don't. Again, as I was saying, I would like to eventually put it together in a thing, like an anthology at some point when I'm like 85. But no, like I don't want to like. I like playing, the random shit that happens because some of that stuff is hilarious. The random table where the ships just ran into like the I told you about that the Truman Show wall just ran like, dude, that was the most random table. I downloaded. I was like, I read it. I could not. You could hear my voice. I was like, and you hit a wall, and a door opens. Fucking insane. That was insane.
Well,
But yeah,
with finales come new beginnings.
true.
Right.
And Spencer, I will put it here for you now that when this current campaign of Agoth Doomhand and the Skulls of Power ends, I'm committing to you to DM a small campaign based in your world that you are a player in.
Yeah, and
So
Dan,
you can play
and Dan's there too.
And I will commit. Yeah, I will commit to at a minimum playing one NPC.
Okay, perfect. Absolutely.
I will show up as anybody that Chris chooses. I'm happy to play. I have a question for you, Spence, and I know we're out of time.
Yeah.
Late on the East Coast, but are you playing 24 rules, or are you still playing the old rules, 14 rules?
We're still playing the 14 rules.
I haven't even looked at the new ones, to be honest. I know they came out, and I know that, and I just started seeing people. I don't know, like. What's your take on it? I haven't even investigated the thing.
Chris, you were going to say something.
Anything new that comes out, there's always going to be
backlash,
corrections, and backlash. Well, things are going to take some time to even out, work themselves out, and flesh out all the details the way that they want to happen. I personally looked into them initially and let some of this marinade, let them find the imbalances, do all the stuff they need to do.
What was an example of something that you didn't like? Because now I know what I'm going to do when I go home.
It's not that I disliked it. It's that things just felt unfinished when it first came out. And just with most things today, most products or games, it's they're just getting it out to get it out to get a deadline, and then they're gonna finish up all the details later. And that's, I figure, let them finish all the details.
So they cyberpunked the new rules, is what you're saying?
Well, it's every book that comes out, and 3 weeks later, there's a new errata for it. So there's always going to be corrections.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan?
A lot of the same. For me, it was. I was so used to the 14 rules that I wound up finishing my campaign without adopting the new rules. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. I think there's some stuff that is change for change sake. I think there's some things that are really good. You're a campaign guy, so for example, Song of Rest, not in the 24 rules. It was removed as a feature. Feedback around it is most people didn't use it, but I think here's the thing about D&D. If you're a dungeon master, you make the rules. Every single rule in the book is a suggestion. Song of Rest is a really great example, right? So let's say you're running a campaign. You say to Chris, you go, Chris, I'm running a campaign. We're playing on the 2024 rules. We're going to play it over 5 years. You're going to be a bard. He says, great. He shows up to the first session. He goes, this is bullshit. We don't have Song of Rest anymore. That was a really important bard feature that I miss. So you know what? You just found the Lute of Rest. And every time you take a short rest, you play a song on this, and everybody gets 1d8 of temporary hit points.
Nice.
You're not tough to these rules. Some of them are mechanical. So they changed Counterspell.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know how I feel. So under the old Counterspell rules, you as the counterspeller were rolling dice. So you and you alone decide how powerful your counterspell is through the use of your dice. And therefore, when the Lich casts Power Word Kill, you are really rolling the dice to see if you can. Now the caster is the one who's making a saving throw against your spell save DC, or against your spell casting, your spell save DC. So that Lich is never failing that saving throw. So you're never getting a counter spell, and that's one example where I go, But again, as a DM, I can go, hey, we're playing 2024 rules, but we're using 2014 counterspell because I think the new one sucks.
Well, a friend of mine he's like, we're doing 2014 except any healing spell for 2024 because he's like, give people more healing. I want to hurt you. But it's like, yeah, the double the dice. But I think for me, all of my games, my campaigns have been on the 2014 and are ongoing. And we're not even trying to entertain different rules because we're just like, we're enjoying the game as it is with the rules we're playing. Let's just finish things how they go.
Did they update, like in D&D Beyond, did they roll that out? Or is that an option? I don't even know.
So random tangent alert.
Oh yeah, let me press. We haven't had that many.
The way they rolled it out on D&D Beyond is they sort of forced it on everything, and then had to do like backwards compatibility to give 2014 its own sort of semi-separate rule set.
Wow.
So unless you like specifically look for like legacy or 2014 only stuff, the 2024 stuff comes up.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And for new character sheets, there's a weird way, or you have to go through and disable the 2024 stuff for it to function.
Is my thing? I have to check it out now.
Not your campaign, it's the character sheets themselves. And your thing was made before it.
So Dan, these are things that I don't know. You know?
This is why he keeps me around.
Yeah. My favorite thing is that when I make a mistake and Chris calls me out, I'm like, well, too bad.
The worst
too
part.
Too bad to you.
It's when you're uncertain of something and I chime in with a comment and I'm watching it later. I'm like, oh shit, that's so wrong. I can't believe I gave you that advice. That is not how that works at all.
That's all right. But I don't even know. Yeah, so that's our stuff.
Well, one of the things that the new rules are lacking. I'm just gonna name drop it here, and I'll send you guys a copy in a couple of weeks. But one thing that the new rules are lacking is sort of and you guys tell me if this resonates with you at all. But my auto lights have been weird. Tell me if this resonates with you. So I find that a lot of times I open up the monster manual and I go like, all right, I found something that looks cool, but it's either too high level or too low level for what I want to do with it. And I feel like the 2014 rules did an okay job. 2024 rules have nothing in there about like how to like modularly build like stronger or less strong NPCs. So what we have, I was going to share, but it's okay. It's not going to let me share. But what I have coming out, but before the end of this year, really this month, or my wife is just going to get sick of me working on this book. But we have a book coming out this month that is exactly that. It's called Hestra's Horde of Heroes and Henches, and what it's going to be is it is a step-by-step guide for DMs of like how to like build up or break down some of like these high-level NPCs and low-level NPCs to really dial them in for your players. Built on the new rules, so super easy to understand, and we're really stoked about it. And hopefully we go to press this month because, like I said, if I don't, I think
What's it called? What's it called one more time?
Called Hestra's Horde of Heroes and Henches. So it is
That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, if I don't know if I can share. Let's see. Did that come to you?
Yes.
So I've got this up on my IG, and we previewed this at Denver Fan Expo. Can you see like the screen? Yep. So
nice.
This is the cover of the book, and it's going to be a super exciting sort of guide on how you're laughing. Why are you?
Well, I was laughing where your mouse was hovering.
Oh,
the cursor was hovering right on the cleavage.
Oh, yeah. But It is narrated by Hestra, who is this like storm giant who sort of views the adventurers like, minis in a D&D game, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you like the other stuff we've put out, I'll make sure you guys both get advanced copies of this as soon as it's like ready to rock.
That's sick, dude.
That's
I'm excited
awesome.
to see that. Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's like it. I'm just excited that we've all agreed that we're playing together at some point.
Oh yeah.
So like that's like, done.
Well,
Jamie's gonna be like, how did it go? Like, not that she actually,
asked you that question ever.
No, she will. How did it go? And I'm gonna be like, fucking awesome. We're gonna play more.
Yeah. Hey, I'm down. I'm down to play. I can run something if you guys want to both be playing. When was the last time you both got to play? You guys could play in the campaign, and your characters could be brothers.
Well, we did have a plan of doing that, but that game fell through.
Which one was this one?
No, we were planning to do Step Brothers.
Oh, yeah, like John C. Reilly, Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Don't touch my drum set.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. And then the Serbian guy, he could be your straight man. Like I'll run. I have. So here's the thing, Spencer. I recovered campaign guy. That's my T-shirt. I can run a 3-hour one shot and get you from meet in a tavern to the end of to the penultimate battle. If that's what you need me to do. So
I need you to do that.
All right.
Oh my god, that's great.
We'll plan it.
Yeah, that's
All
sick.
right. Well, hey, thanks.
Always a pleasure.
Yep. Also,
Really
I have to do this too, so we're all doing it. Rawhide, subscribe.
We just need some cigars now.
Thanks for joining for Let's Talk Lore. If you are a creator in any way, shape, or form, or connected to Dungeons and Dragons in this space, shoot up Spencer. I think he's that way with a DM, and say hello. Come on, chat about whatever.
Yeah. And hey, if you're interested, check out HilliardHallGames.com, where we've got some fun stuff. Spencer is modeling one of our books, and we've got another book coming out this month, Hestra's Horde of Heroes and Henches. Check out the books, and we'll be back at. I'll tell you right now. I'm gonna plug Denver Fan Expo in May. If I'm not back on this show before May, something went horribly wrong. But yeah, no, HilliardHallGames.com, and follow us on social media.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. There.
Yeah.
All right, man. That
thanks.
was awesome.
You guys have me on. Thanks for being patient. I couldn't join at 6:30.
That's fine.
all
Don't
good.
worry. Let's. I'm gonna get that shirt made. So
All right,
the next time.
I want to see it. I want to be shocked. Here's what I want. I want to forget about this, and then in a few weeks you invite me back on, and I go, "Holy shit, you got this shirt!"
That's hilarious.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Dungeon
You guys
Doom
take care.
Hands. Let's
You
talk
as well.
See you
lore.
later.
A
Yeah.
Rawhide,
podcast.
subscribe.